a groundbreaking thing that really was and probably could have killed me in many, many ways. Not just the Suge Knight way but way, to the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
When you're getting hazed, you're getting in your
You think you say like basically
this homosexual ritual
proposed to me. I mean, things were going so crazy and fast, man. I was just like, what? I thought the guy was supposed to do that. What do you mean? Wait a minute. This is too fast. I'm just getting started here, and I'm way too young for this.
Yeah.
That's not what he says at all.
I had my bodyguards who had guns, and they had their people which had guns, and they had us outpowered and outnumbered.
Talking publicly about it for the first time, Van Winkle describes a terrifying night in his suite at a Beverly Hills hotel when he says Suge Knight showed up with 6 other men.
Black artists treat you
great. That's where I'm. Listen,
like Tupac or Biggie or those guys.
Oh, good friends of mine. I was friends with Tupac way before he even blew up. When he was with Digital Underground, NWA. I was the opening act. Listen, I was the opening act for the opening act for the opening act for the opener for the opener when we did the Stop the Violence tour with NWA, Stetsa Sonic, EPMD, Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I was that kid out there, and they were great friends. They embraced me, man.
Yeah, Tupac and I are good friends.
Yes.
Good dude. Gave me some of my greatest advice because he saw me going through hell with all the hatred and all the he stood up for me and said straight up, Ice, you're dope. He goes, I want you to know you're one of the great ones. You're dope. You're going to leave your mark, your legacy. And this is before it happened. He knew it. This guy had a...
Welcome back to Juicy Pulse, your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Let's spill the tea on today's biggest celebrity stories. Let's dive into the drama that's been bubbling in the shadows of the hip-hop game for way too long. You know the names Jay-Z and Diddy, massive icons, billionaire bosses, their names scream success. But behind all the glitz, the Grammys, and those flashy champagne nights, there's a messy story getting harder to ignore. And now, Vanilla Ice is stepping up with something to say. Yep, that Vanilla Ice, he's been through the ringer in this industry, from topping charts to vanishing from the scene. Now he's back, dropping some jaw-dropping claims that are making people squirm. According to him, both Jay-Z and Diddy built their legendary careers by taking advantage of rising talent and leaving a trail of wreckage behind. This isn't just your usual bad contract beef. Nah, he's talking serious stuff. Ice is pointing fingers at a system that, in his words, used young artists up and threw them out like trash. Allegedly, it's not just business. It's manipulation, control, and the kind of damage that ruins lives. And he's not alone. This ain't the first time whispers like this have echoed through the rap world. So now, we're breaking it all down. What's the real history behind these accusations? Who else has spoken out, and why does it feel like this story keeps getting buried? It's time to talk about power, pressure, and the real price of making it big in the rap industry. And guess what? Vanilla Ice says he didn't just vanish because of one hit. There's way more to the story. Everyone thought Vanilla Ice just had his moment and disappeared. Like, one hit and poof, gone. But now he's saying that's not what really happened at all. He didn't just fade away. He ran from something seriously dark going on behind the scenes in the music industry. According to Ice, it wasn't bad luck or bad sales that made him walk away. It was the creepy underbelly of the biz. He's talking about some real shady stuff. Whispers of secret society rituals. The kind of rumors people usually laugh off, but he's saying it was real and he was right in the middle of it. He says powerful music execs tried pulling him into some strange, twisted world, but he stood his ground. He told them straight up, nah, I'm out, and bounced, leaving all that fame and fortune behind. But Ice also claims that just because he said no, it didn't mean he got away clean. He's hinting at some wild experiences after turning his back on the industry. Like, someone or something was trying to mess with him. Was he targeted for walking away? Did he dodge the same trap that's taken down so many others? Let's break down how Vanilla Ice might have escaped the industry's darkest secrets and why disappearing may have saved his life. And now you've really got to ask, were powerful figures like Diddy and Jay-Z somehow tied up in all this shady madness? These aren't just any names, they run the industry. They pull strings. So when Vanilla Ice starts dropping bombs, people listen. Back in the 90s, Vanilla Ice didn't just arrive, he exploded onto the scene. Young, wild, full of swagger, and ready to take over the world. Ice Ice Baby wasn't just a hit, it was a straight-up cultural earthquake. He was everywhere, selling out massive shows front and center on every magazine rack, living that superstar dream. He had the look, the energy, and the vibe that screamed next level. People thought he was about to build a music empire of his own, but then everything flipped, fast. According to Ice, the second he hit the top, the shadows started creeping in. He says that's when the real power players, the ones who control the big money, the influence, everything, started approaching him with offers. But these weren't business deals, they were something much darker. He's talking about invitations into those secret circles, the ones tied to creepy rituals and twisted behavior, the kind of stuff people call selling your soul. Allegedly, they wanted him in, and when he refused, everything changed. Could those same industry giants be behind the curtain? And is this what happens when you say no to the wrong people in the game? This is the type of thing that makes you question everything you thought you knew about fame and the entertainment game. Imagine standing at the peak of your career, riding the wild wave of success, feeling untouchable, and then boom, you're hit with a choice no one sees coming. Play along with some twisted behind-the-scenes games, risk losing your soul, your values, yourself, or walk away and kiss it all goodbye. That's the situation Vanilla Ice says he was thrown into. He wasn't fading out, he was running from something deeply wrong, and he claims the industry didn't just want his talent, it wanted control. He was the hottest name in music at the time, young, on fire, and with the whole world watching. And just when he thought things couldn't get any bigger, that's when the calls started coming in. He says the biggest bosses in the game, Jay-Z and Diddy, stepped in. Not with contracts, but with offers to mentor him, guide him, take him to even dizzier heights of fame and fortune. Sounds like a dream, right? But according to Ice, the offer came with a dark twist. He says the promises were huge. More fame, more money, more power than he could imagine. But behind the curtain, he claims it was all tied to disturbing rituals and secret agendas he just couldn't be part of. Was it a setup, a test, or just the way the machine really works behind the glitz? Ice says saying no might have saved him, but it cost him everything. Now this is where Vanilla Ice's story takes a wild twist. He says he wasn't fooled by the flashing lights and fast money. Nah, he was paying attention, watching how these same industry giants moved around other young, hungry artists, and what he saw, it freaked him out. Ice claims he noticed a disturbing pattern, promising careers getting cut short, creative visions getting crushed, and personal lives spiraling out of control. And even worse, he says he saw young boys getting exploited. The vibe was all wrong. He saw how these moguls moved, control, manipulation, and total domination of artists who once had something real. According to him, they were stripping away what made those artists unique, turning them into products, puppets, empty versions of who they used to be. That original fire, gone, just gone. So when Ice got handed the same golden opportunity, he didn't bite. No matter how tempting the fame or how loud the applause, he made a conscious decision to walk away. He wasn't about to be someone's pawn in a twisted game of power. He says he wasn't willing to sell out for a price tag or a bigger spotlight. He valued his freedom, his creativity, his self way more than any deal, no matter who it came from. It was a bold move, risky as hell, and it could have ended his whole career. But Ice knew what he was doing. He trusted his gut and chose to protect his soul instead of trading it in for a fast life. And that raw, rebellious spirit, fans love that about him. One supporter even wrote, "Walked away from the industry with his man card intact, respect and congrats." But here's the twist. While Puff and Jay-Z might have tried to reel him in, they weren't the ones who set the whole thing in motion. The beginning of the end started way earlier and with someone else entirely. When Ice Ice Baby blew up, it didn't just make Vanilla Ice a star. It turned him into a target. Suddenly, the big players in the industry were paying close attention. One name that kept popping up, Charles Koppelman, a heavyweight exec with major influence and deep ties to Clive Davis, who just so happens to be the longtime mentor of Diddy himself. That's when the industry rumor mill started buzzing. Whispers claimed these powerful execs weren't just looking at Ice as a cash cow. They allegedly saw him as a puppet in the making. Someone they could mold, control, and plug into their inner circle. And that's when things got really strange. The rumors grew louder, saying Ice was being nudged toward those secret rituals. The same creepy stuff that would later be linked to Diddy and a few other top names in the business, but Ice wasn't some clueless rookie. He says he saw the game for what it was. He could feel the trap forming around him, and right before they could sink their hooks in, he dipped, gone from the spotlight, vanished from the charts. He chose to disappear before they could pull him all the way in. And fans still remember. One even said, "Back in the day, we were too cool for school for Vanilla Ice, but now, that respect is hitting different." And here's the wildest part. Fans are saying Vanilla Ice might be the only one who had the guts to walk away from what they're calling the satanic music industry. One comment even said, "That's a real man with real talent who didn't sell out." But don't get it twisted. His exit wasn't some smooth escape. This wasn't just a career move, it was survival. Ice says during that short but explosive ride to the top, there were moments where he genuinely feared for his life. Like he seriously thought he might not make it out alive. Turning his back on these powerful figures didn't come without consequences. Not even close. He claims he had to move carefully, navigating a landscape full of hidden traps and powerful people who didn't like being told no. And remember, this all happened fast. One day, he was just a regular dude out of Texas. The next, he was a global superstar with everyone pulling strings behind the scenes. The industry machine was running at full blast, pushing him to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, perform on cue. They weren't just managing his music, they were controlling his life. Every move, every word, every moment was being crafted and sold. It got so bad that even marriage, something deeply personal, felt like another PR stunt waiting to happen. Ice says he saw how relationships were faked, manipulated, and rolled out like publicity campaigns. The idea of dragging someone he loved into that world, it scared him. The pressure wasn't just on stage, it was everywhere. The deeper he got, the more the walls closed in. The grip of the industry was so tight, so suffocating, that even genuine connections started to feel dangerous. And for Ice, that was the final red flag. The one that told him it was time to get out, before it crushed everything real in his life. At the very height of his fame, when Ice Ice Baby was dominating the charts and Vanilla Ice had the world at his feet, he made a move that shook the entire music industry. He turned down mentorship offers from some of the most powerful names in the game, Diddy, Clive Davis, and Jay-Z. Let that sink in. These are the guys who could make or break anybody. They had the reach, the clout, and the connections to turn a rising artist into a full-blown legend. Most people would have begged for their attention, but not Ice. He looked them straight in the eye and said, "Thanks, but no thanks." Now imagine the reaction. These are not men who are used to hearing the word no. Usually artists are lined up just to be in the same room with them, hoping to catch a break, to ride that wave of influence. But Ice? He flat out rejected their offers. And according to whispers in the industry, they did not take it well. Word is, they were furious. Bruised egos, damaged pride. They saw his refusal as a slap in the face, a direct challenge to their power. And in the music world, turning down the wrong people, that comes with a price. The story goes, they didn't launch an obvious attack. Nah, it was all behind the scenes, a quiet strategic takedown, chipping away at his credibility bit by bit. They allegedly started a campaign to blackball him, to freeze him out of the business completely. One of their biggest plays, hitting him where it hurt, in the hip-hop community. They started questioning his authenticity, calling him fake, spreading the word that he was just a pop puppet exploiting the culture. They turned the streets against him, and once that seed was planted, the damage was done. What came next was brutal. Vanilla Ice found himself trapped in a hostile environment, like the whole industry turned its back on him overnight. Getting real respect or credibility from fellow artists became almost impossible. It felt like someone was pulling the strings behind the scenes, ripping down everything he was trying to build. Piece by piece, his foundation was being dismantled. The message? Loud and clear. Don't mess with the power structure and think you're walking away clean. But Ice wasn't one to fold. He didn't let the pressure stop him. He wasn't begging for favors, especially not from heavyweights like Jay-Z or Diddy. He never wanted a handout. He wanted to earn it. Instead of chasing clout, he doubled down on what he loved. The culture, the grind, the real essence of the game. He became obsessed with the 80s dance scene, locked in on everything from movies like Breakin' and Beat Street. He studied every move like his life depended on it. In his own words, "I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I'd stay up mimicking the moves from Breakin' and Beat Street, watching them dance with the broom, the fishing line, doing the robot, and then I'd throw in my own flavor." That was Ice's mindset. Prove yourself no matter what it takes. He didn't wait for the spotlight. He created it. He formed his own dance crew and started hustling for gigs anywhere he could. Malls, local events, wherever people would watch. He was making around $40 a day just by breakdancing, beatboxing, and freestyling for shoppers. In a 2013 GQ interview, he laughed and said, "I used to spin on my head at the mall and make $40 a day. That was more than my rich friends were getting for allowance." He built his grind from the ground up, no help, no favors, just straight hustle. Vanilla Ice didn't come from privilege, far from it. His background was rough. He dropped out of high school, never even met his real dad, and his mom went through marriage after marriage. He grew up lower middle class, grinding through random low-paying jobs just to survive, all while chasing a dream that most people laughed at. He was, in his own words, the only white kid trying to prove himself in a mostly black scene, and he knew he had to go 10 times harder to earn even a sliver of respect. And when the whispers started, when he heard people saying Jay-Z and Diddy were allegedly moving behind the scenes to sabotage him, he didn't blink. He didn't panic. He stayed locked in. He wasn't focused on politics or drama. He had one mission, prove himself, and now, finally, the grind was starting to pay off. Every hour spent perfecting his moves, every $40 mall performance, every freestyle battle, it was all adding up. Ice was completely locked into the local hip-hop scene, soaking in the energy, sharpening his skills, and building a real connection with the culture. Then came his shot from the most unexpected place. A friend dared him to grab the mic at open mic night at Club City Lights. He was nervous, heart pounding, but he stepped up and unleashed. The crowd went crazy. They weren't expecting that energy, that flow, that swagger. He had them hooked. The club manager didn't even wait. He pulled Ice aside that same night and said, "You're coming back. Regular slot." Just like that, everything changed. And boom, Ice went from local gigs to opening for legends. NWA, Public Enemy, the DOC, Paula Abdul, Sinbad, MC Hammer. He was rubbing shoulders with giants. No shortcuts, no industry handouts, just raw hustle, guts, and undeniable talent. Vanilla Ice was standing on stage with legends, soaking up game from the best in the business and carving out his own place in hip-hop history. By then, he wasn't just some outsider trying to fit in. He had built a solid rep in Dallas. He was winning motocross competitions, battling rappers at Wild House parties, and making serious waves on Forest Lane in South Dallas. Ice wasn't just a performer. He was becoming a local legend. He was living proof that relentless hustle, skill, and grit could get you noticed without selling your soul. But that kind of success, it didn't sit right with certain people in power. Despite brushing off offers from the biggest names, Diddy, Clive Davis, Jay-Z, Vanilla Ice kept winning without them, and allegedly, that rubbed some industry giants the wrong way. Word started circulating that Ice's independence was seen as disrespect. He was breaking the rules, and that needed to be handled. Then came the moment that sent chills down the spine of the hip-hop community. Out of nowhere, Vanilla Ice was viciously attacked. He was stabbed 5 times in a brutal assault that almost killed him. He lost around 4 pints of blood, a near fatal amount. Doctors had to fight just to keep him alive. He spent days in the hospital, clinging to life, while fans and family waited in fear. And even though no official link was ever made between the attack and any music power players, the timing, the intensity, the message it seemed to send, way too many people started asking the same question. Was this really random, or was it a warning? Ice survived. But that night changed everything, and it made one thing clear. In the music world, crossing the wrong people could come with deadly consequences. What really seemed to rattle the industry's power players? Vanilla Ice's unexpected and real friendship with none other than Tupac Shakur. At a time when racial and cultural lines in hip-hop were still deeply drawn, this kind of bond wasn't just rare. It was downright unwelcome by certain behind-the-scenes bosses. Tupac, known for keeping it raw, unfiltered, and 100% real, saw something in Vanilla Ice that others refused to acknowledge. And despite the whispers, the side eyes, and all the industry gossip, their friendship grew strong. But not everyone was cool with it. Word is, this alliance made some top execs fume, especially folks like Suge Knight and other major moguls who saw Tupac as their property. Tupac was their artist, their asset, their voice to control. So when they saw Vanilla Ice, a white rapper they had once laughed off, suddenly getting close to Pac, it messed up their whole narrative. To them, it looked like another middle finger from Ice, another bold move that said, "I'll do things my way." And this one cut deep. Because now, Tupac, one of the most respected, most influential voices in the game, was low-key validating Ice's authenticity just by kicking it with him. That kind of cosign? That wasn't supposed to happen. It challenged everything those gatekeepers had worked to create. And once they saw Ice stepping deeper into Tupac's inner circle, they moved in. Again. And here's the kicker. Ice never claimed any of this himself. But the streets, the whispers, they've been saying it loud for years. For those who don't know, the stabbing wasn't the only time Vanilla Ice allegedly had a target on his back. One of the most infamous incidents in hip-hop history? The run-in between Vanilla Ice and Death Row Records, specifically co-founder Suge Knight. It all started when a rapper named Mario Chocolate Johnson claimed he helped write some of Ice's biggest tracks, including the mega hit Ice Ice Baby. Johnson was managed by Suge Knight at the time, and once Knight caught wind of the royalty situation, things escalated fast. The showdown went down in Ice's Beverly Hills hotel suite, and it's been the stuff of legend ever since. Now, the urban myth says Suge held him upside down over a balcony. Ice has since said it didn't go exactly like that, but don't get it twisted. The situation was dangerous as hell. Ice recalled, "I had my bodyguards who had guns, and they had their people also strapped. But we were outnumbered, way outpowered. Knight's crew came in heavy, allegedly roughed up Ice's bodyguards and entourage, and made it crystal clear this wasn't a negotiation. Under pressure, Vanilla Ice signed over 25% of his royalties right then and there." But here's where it gets really shady. Years later, insiders started whispering that this wasn't just about royalties. That whole songwriting claim, according to some sources close to the situation, it was just a cover story. The real reason behind Suge's visit? Allegedly, powerful industry bosses were done watching Vanilla Ice succeed on his own terms. They were fed up with his refusal to play ball, so they sent a message, and who better to deliver it than Suge Knight? This wasn't just business. It was a warning, a brutal reminder that in the music industry, staying independent, especially when you're making big money without their blessing, can come with a very real cost. According to those close to the situation, the real message that night had nothing to do with songwriting or royalties. The whole Chocolate Johnson wrote the hook angle, that was just the cover story. What was really going down, they claim, was a warning, plain and simple. Suge Knight wasn't just showing up to settle a music dispute. He was allegedly sent in as an enforcer to remind Vanilla Ice what happens when you play the game your way and ignore the power structure. Ice had already turned down deals from top industry moguls, not once, but multiple times. And he was still managing to win. That wasn't just bold. It was infuriating to those who were used to pulling the strings. The whole royalties angle made the situation look like a legit business conflict, but behind closed doors, it was all about control. Ice was making moves without them, and that scared the people at the top. This wasn't just about him. This was a message to every other artist watching. You defy us? This is what happens. And that's why even after signing over that 25%, Vanilla Ice kept catching heat. It was never about the money. It was about putting him in his place. But here's the twist of fate no one saw coming. While Suge Knight tried to flex his dominance that night, their paths couldn't have gone more different. Vanilla Ice stepped away from the chaos and flipped the script. He reinvented himself, diving into real estate and building a legit empire, quietly stacking millions, no drama, no headlines, just hustle. Suge, he ended up locked down, serving a 28-year sentence. No parole till 2034, when he'll be 69. And now Diddy, sitting behind bars, facing a racketeering charge that could land him life. At minimum, he's looking at 15 years just for the SE trafficking charge. In the end, the one they tried to crush, Vanilla Ice, walked away with the last laugh. His business smarts, loyalty to himself, and refusal to fold ended up beating every industry power play they threw at him. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.